It is not necessary to travel far outside of Antalya to experience some incredible ancient ruins. Over the following minutes, I will visit 3 sites that are definitely worth discovering. Those include the ancient city of Perge, a nearly intact theater in Aspendos, and the Mediterranean seaside ruins in Ceday. I will begin in Perge. Perge is situated just 18 kilometers outside of Antalya. It could be one of the most fascinating ancient cities that hardly anyone knows about. Evidence of people living here goes all the way back to the Bronze Age. That would be 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. Even before the Common Era, this place had been a Greek colony of Rhodes. It was controlled by the Persians, the Athenians, and then the Persians again. Even Alexander the Great paid a visit after his conquest of another nearby city. Ultimately, the Romans claimed Perge in the 2nd century BCE. This city thrived under Roman rule. There was a period of expansion during the 2nd century of the Common Era. Much of what can be seen today took shape at that time and in the years ahead. The size of this place is quite impressive. Our guide says that at its peak, this place had 35,000 to 40,000 inhabitants. I went to Perge on an excursion designed to show some of the more interesting ancient ruins in the area east of Antalya. That did not allow for a great deal of time to explore, but I made the most of what I was given. This city was eventually abandoned around 1000. Excavations at this site got started in 1946. What can be seen today is most impressive. Impressive enough, actually, to rate recognition from the UNESCO World Heritage Organization. I'll show you what I was able to find, and then a little later, provide some clips that will take my discovery of Perge to an entirely different level. There is a wealth of remnants of buildings and structures that can be seen here. While there are a few signs, I had difficulty in recognizing what I was seeing and distinguishing one feature from another. The late Roman gate serves as the entrance into the main archaeological area. It was built in the 4th century and incorporated into the defensive walls. From the outside, the gate looks like a simple passage through the fortifications. On the inside, though, there are more elements which add to the visual appeal. As I mentioned, most of what is visible comes from Roman times. This spot, however, goes back to when the city was under Greek control. It is the Hellenistic city gate and towers. Creation of the cylindrical towers and the gate go all the way back to the 3rd century BCE. These are not the originals, as the towers and gate were rebuilt during the ensuing centuries. Still, this gives a glimpse farther back into the past than anything else seen at the site. Possibly my favorite part of the site is on the western side of the courtyard, which extends from the Roman gate to the Hellenistic towers. Here, there is a propylaea, or monumental gate. That leads into the well-preserved southern bath complex. There were a number of baths in the city, and this is the best example that remains today. I'm told that there were separate areas for men and women in this location. There were also a number of different pools. They ran the spectrum from cold to hot, with tepid or warm water pools in between. In this vicinity, there was a nymphaeum. That existed as a decorative feature that included fountains, as well as a cistern, which was used for storing water. Deeper into the site, there are dozens and dozens of columns. Many of these run along the sides of the colonnaded main street. That street runs for nearly 500 meters. It was lined with shops, and the main agora was in this part of the city too. When the city was populated, a canal ran amongst the streets with a sewer system situated underneath the surface. As in most places such as this, it is quite thought-provoking to walk down the streets and contemplate the past. There is a theater at Perge, located outside the old walls. It was not open for inspection at the time that I visited. Nearby, though, I was able to walk into the stadium for a few moments. It is said to be the second best example of a Roman stadium in existence in Turkiye today. Built in the 2nd century, this is 234 meters long and 34 meters wide. It could accommodate 12,000 spectators. There were so many more ruins to see in Perge. Many were old building sites, and chunks of marble and stone covered the ground in other places. I could have spent several hours wandering around and taking in so much more of what the old city offered. I always find it astonishing that there are some places where there are ruins that are totally overrun with people. Then you come to another site like this, which is equally as impressive, and there's hardly anyone here. With a bit more work here and some additional signage, I could see this becoming a major attraction. There are people all over the world who would love to explore this location and learn of the history contained within. Perge on the ground is phenomenal, but this is the other side of the story. This is the Antalya Museum. It contains so many intact and nearly intact statues that have been found over the years of excavations. Just look at all these figures. Before going to the museum, I heard that it includes a Perge hall. When I arrived though, it was a shock. I was not prepared for the volume of relics that are in the museum that come from Perge. There are 3 or 4 exhibit halls that are full with almost every piece from that ancient city. It must have been an archaeologist's dream to work on that site. Over the years, Perge has gotten the nickname of the City of Sculptors. There is no wonder. I've never seen a number saying how many figures from the city are located in the space. If I had to guess, I would say that it has to be over 100. They span the spectrum too. Some are historical figures, as you would expect, but others represent mythological beings and gods. I spent at least an hour wandering through the museum and marveling at the numerous sculptures. It was incredible how intact most of them were. I went to the museum after visiting the ancient city site. It might be better to see the relics first, then go to the location where they were found. I love the experience, no matter the order. Talk about a part of the world that is full of history. There have been over 160 ancient cities just like this that have been discovered in the Antalya region alone. Let me be clear, that many ancient cities have been found, but I'm not sure that any of the others are as big and as fascinating as this place. Perge is not on the level of Pompeii, but it's not far below. This was the next attraction that I visited on my tour of archaeological sites, and it is amazing. This is the Theater of Aspendos. Some writings on the UNESCO World Heritage Site state that this is the best preserved Roman theater in the world. I can see how the authors came to that conclusion. This was built in the 2nd century. That was during the reign of Marcus Aurelius. The theater is fairly large. The facade is around 100 meters wide and over 20 meters high. There are 41 rows of benches, which provided seating for more than 10,000 spectators. As was the case in many locations where features such as this were constructed, the seating was built on a hill to take advantage of the topography. One of the only things missing from the time when this was new is an 8-meter deep wooden ceiling that would have covered the stage. Evidence is present too, indicating that a velarium was used here. That is a retractable awning to protect attendees from the sun. I was taken by the intricate features of the wall behind the stage. Modern staging has been added here, and performances make the theater a living facility. This is probably the single most spectacular relic from the Roman era in southern Turkiye. There are other remnants of the ancient city of Aspendos, but on our tour, we only had time to see the theater. From Aspendos, we traveled to the sea. Located there is the city of Ceday. It is a modern tourist resort, but there are remnants of the past here as well. The most popular reminders of Roman times are right on the Mediterranean. This site contains portions of 2 ancient temples. One was dedicated to Athena and the other to Apollo. A number of columns remain from each, and they have been put back into place as they would have appeared ages ago. Ceday was the site of one of the earliest settlements in this part of Turkiye. Experts say that this place was populated starting in the 6th century before the Common Era. One claim to fame is that Alexander the Great occupied the city beginning in 333 BCE. There were ups and downs through the years before the ancient city was abandoned by the 10th century. In my short time in Ceday, it appears that this area is attempting to reclaim the history that is a part of its past. Excavations began here in 1947, and work is still ongoing. The old theater is off limits at the moment, and I imagine that it will be a huge attraction once it is open to the public. All through the city, there are modern shops and glass panels in the ground showing relics underneath. Ceday provides a good combination of ancient history and modern comforts, all within steps of the Mediterranean. There was one more little stop on our tour before we returned to Antalya. It was a pleasant area, centered around a nice waterfall. I never even caught the name of the cascade. This capped off what was a monumental day of exploring the archaeological wonders of this part of southern Turkiye. Turkiye is a country full of archaeological wonders. If you visit, take at least a day to go beyond the natural beauty and delectable food to fill up on a bit of history. It is a very satisfying way to spend your time. I hope you enjoyed this offering from Old, Alone, and Far From Home. I will see you next time.